Hello everybody, today I'm going to show you how to do a full hydraulic fluid system change in a Tektro Auriga system. The process is actually pretty much the same across the entire Tektro range and indeed Shimano and other manufacturers as well. The only difference really is going to be the location of bleed ports and such like. So let's get to work. The first thing you need to do is make sure you've got all the right tools. In this case, it's going to be the right tools to remove the caliper entirely and to adjust the angle of the brake lever so you can access the bleed port. You obviously need to make sure you have your proper brake bleed kit, which you can get online. I've got some details in the description. And you also need to make sure you have cleaning products, particularly alcohol spray and lots of shop towels, because mineral oil is not nice stuff and you really don't want it to get anywhere in terms of the brake pads. It's not as damaging as brake fluid for you and for your skin, but it's horrible for getting onto brake pads and other components. Now, once you've got all your tools in place, the first thing you need to do is to make sure the bike has had a really good clean. In this case, it really hasn't. I haven't got time to do the whole frame, but we're going to focus on the caliper here and make sure everything is really pucker. I think the best thing to do is just to remove these caliper bolts and get things out of the way straight away. So in this case, it's a 5mm, and that wasn't very tight. These should be much of a higher torque than that. So we'll whip this off. Caliper slides off quite easily, and then it means you have access to your brake pads as well. Now, it might be you're choosing to keep your existing brake pads. I'm going to do the video assuming that you are, but honestly, if you're going to do a brake bleed, I would spend a bit more money and get new pads as well. As I say, I'm going to leave these ones in just for the purposes of the video and to make life easier for you. But we need to just whip this out. Some brake pads will have kind of split pins coming out here, but for the Auriga, you have actually an Allen key or hex key bolt head. These can actually be really annoying. Sometimes they're over tightened and they're actually quite a soft metal, so sometimes they can strip. So be really careful not to strip the head. Okay, you want to keep these pads well away from the mineral oil. So we're going to put this in a safe place. And now we're going to give things a good clean here. While doing this, please don't press your brake levers, because what's going to happen is it's going to drive your pistons out and that's going to cause you some bother. So leave the brake levers well alone until we've got a brake block in there in a short while. You want to make sure the discs are really clean as well, because that will cause squeaking, grinding, soft braking and everything else. So if you've got dirt on your shop towel or your microfiber cloth as you're cleaning, then it's not clean enough. This needs to be so clean you can eat your dinner off it. Not literally, but you get the idea. Now that everything's clean, we can get to work. Now, in order to do the brake fluid change, we want gravity to work in our favour. So using the caliper up here isn't the best. Best thing to do is to, mindful that you don't damage the hose, you need to get the caliper this side of the frame. And then you need to, well, my advice would be to also clip one of the cable ties here, and maybe even two if you have them. So this is really hanging low. What we're going to have, folks, is an issue with air bubbles, which is why your brakes are soft in the first place, I'm assuming, which is why you're doing the brake fluid change. So you need to make sure that there is nothing preventing air bubbles from escaping all the way up the system, going all the way to the brake lever. Now we're ready to insert our brake block to secure the pistons, but the first thing you need to do is just push the pistons into the caliper as far as they will go. Chances are they're probably back all the way anyway, but just in case not, particularly if your brake pads are worn really low, just push them one way and the other with the end of a screwdriver or such like, provided it's clean, and that will just push the pistons back, and then you can add your brake block. Now, often there are two different sizes on brake blocks, or if you're really lucky, you might have a system that has individually sized brake blocks. If you have this system, it's best to use an elastic band or similar just to hold it in place, otherwise it could fall out. But if you're very lucky, then you might have a system where the whole brake block slides in and you can secure the brake block using that pin you removed a short while ago. There we go. Now that is in place, we can hang the caliper down and we can go to the brake lever end. We've got a similar issue of cleanliness up this end of the bike as well, but the first thing we're going to do is to loosen the clamp bolt for the lever. so we can bring the lever down so that the bleed port is perfectly vertical. You might have to also adjust the clamp bolt for the gear shifter as well, as I do in this case, because both have to move at the same time. That might not be the case for you, but it's no biggie. So we're going to move this down, there we go, until the bleed port is pointing completely vertically. And then we just tighten it back up and hold that in place. So again, we're going to give this a good clean, but now we have access to the bolt head of the bleed port. We can remove that. If it turns out your shifter's in the way, then you can always move that completely, but I think we're just going to get away with that, he says, hopefully. You'll notice that I had to move everything in the end because there was just not enough access point for the funnel that's going to go in here and the gear shifter. So there we are. Okay, what you need to do is to get your relevant tool. In this case, it's a Torx or star bit. This is a T15 to remove the bleed port. The bleed port shouldn't be in tight, and also with the bleed port should come out an O-ring, a rubber O-ring, which makes things watertight. So get that out, and then we can pop in the funnel. Now with this particular system I've got, the adapter for screwing in is separate to the funnel, which is very clever. So you can use one funnel over many systems. But once that's in place, which we just get away with, we're going to lock off the air supply, which you should have. Maybe you've got a plunger that goes into the top of your funnel, but you're going to cut off the air supply and you're going to pop in some mineral oil. Now we're actually bleeding from the other end of the bike, so we just need enough fluid to cover the bottom to make sure that there's no air that falls and drops into the top of the system here. You'll see that this isn't completely vertical. I might just angle this up slightly, but you get the idea. Things are in place as they are. Okay, so you need to remove your bleed port here, and that should have been much tighter than that. Once you crack this open, you are going to get some mineral oil escaping, not an awful lot. You wouldn't have had an awful lot remove, but once that's removed, don't worry about the fluid escaping too much, provided your brake pads are out of the way. You then need to attach your charged syringe kit, which has the same size adapter in the end. If your system allows a spanner, then happy days, you can do that up tightly, not stupidly tight, because you don't want to damage the threads of either the syringe adapter or, more importantly, the bleed port. But you do want to do it up enough that there's not going to be fluid escaping. So everything is in place now, and I've also just given the area a quick clean up, so it's more obvious if there's going to be dribbling of the mineral oil. You really don't want there to be dribbling, because if oil's coming out now, it also means potentially air's going in while doing the bleed. Okay, so that's the system charged and ready to go. You'll notice there's a small air bubble there. You have two choices. You can either suck that back out to where the syringe is, or, although it sounds counterintuitive, you could actually push it through the system, because this void that is being created by the air, it will actually collect all the other air bubbles as well as it makes its way through. And so provided these air bubbles come out at the funnel end, it doesn't actually matter, because we're doing a full bleed anyway. Anyway, it's entirely up to you. What we need to do first, though, is to remove the air lock that we created at the funnel, and that will allow the fluid to come through. And now we've done that, we can start to do the bleed by just pushing the syringe firmly but slowly and allowing the fluid to work its way through. And you can see at the funnel end, the level is rising. That's the old fluid being pushed through. And indeed, hopefully you can see air bubbles coming out too. That issue is being resolved as well. Once the last of the fluid is almost out of the hose, you need to lock off that hose to prevent air bubbles getting into the system. And then we can have one last check that everything has come through, that there are no other bubbles, and we can lock off the system at both ends, and that's your bleed pretty much done. Before we do one final lock off of the system and remove everything, we're going to pump the brake lever a few times just to see if there's any residual air bubbles stuck in the lever's reservoir that may yet need to escape. And if not, chances are we've done a good job. I think we are about there. So now we can lock off the air supply to the funnel, remove this. Hopefully with the air lock means the fluid's not going to go all over the workshop floor, and then we can put the bleed port back in. Now before you put gear levers and bells and lights and everything else back to how they were, if you need to, you have to clean to within an inch of this thing's life. Use your alcohol spray your IPA, isopropyl alcohol. It evaporates brilliantly. Don't use brake cleaner because that leaves a horrible residue, and in theory actually that could leave more squeaking potential risk. Good English, Matt. And you're going to use this to clean all the ports of the bike here, which causes two solutions actually. The first is that it will make sure there's no mineral oil residually that can go anywhere, but also it shows if there are any leaks as well, because everything is going to be evaporated and dry. It'll more easily show if there's leakage. Okay, we're there for this end. Now let's go to the caliper. Once things have been similarly cleaned up at the caliper end, you can pop your caliper back into the area it's meant to be. Now is the time to remove your retaining bolt for the brake block and to put in your pads. But again, make sure that there is absolutely no mineral oil left on this system whatsoever. If it were me, for the sake of another couple of minutes, I would give things another really good clean. If you are choosing to put the original brake pads back in, just make sure they're nice and clean. You might want to just go over the surfaces with a bit of sandpaper just to make sure. Otherwise, you're in business putting the new ones back in. Now, it might be you were doing your change because of brakes squeaking, not just sponginess. If that's the case, I wouldn't risk putting the old brake pads back in. I would treat yourself to some new ones. But regardless, we are there now to pop these caliper bolts back in. Now, do you remember I commented on them being quite loose? They need to be quite significant with their torque settings. So go online and double check that you've got the right torque settings. If you haven't got a torque wrench, then it's a bit of a risky business, but I would just make sure things are as tight as they possibly can be. Now, don't tighten everything just yet, because we've got one more job, which is to align the brake caliper to the brake discs. This is assuming that your wheel is on properly and properly located in the dropouts. But can you see there's a bit of wobblage on the caliper here? That's what we want, because what we're going to do is we're going to squeeze the brake lever, and can you see there's movement there as it locks into place? In theory, that should be now self-calibrating. So we're going to do these bolts up a bit more while still holding the brake lever in place. This doesn't always work, but I haven't done it completely tightly, but let's see if there's any scrapage. Yeah, we're in business. Excellent. So we'll do this up proper tight now, and after the video ends, I'm going to get a torque wrench and make sure things are properly to torque. But there we are for now. Okay, this isn't really a moment of truth, because you're not going to know if the brakes are perfect until you've ridden them. But there's no noises, no scraping, and more importantly, good braking. The brake lever, it's hard to show because we're not on camera this end, but in the corner of your screen you will see that the brake lever is hardly moving at all to allow the brake pads to engage. So we've completely done away with our sponginess, our soft feel. We've also done away with any scraping or squeaking, and we are, as a result, job done. One more thing: if you have used old brake pads, the existing ones, and your brake lever travel is still, in your view, moving quite a bit, it's because you need to put more fluid in the system. When you push back those pistons earlier on, it means you push the pistons back too far enough for new brake pads, but it means there's a few millimeters of travel still in the lever. So if that's your case, if you're finding the lever had to travel a bit too much, you might want to redo the bleed by not pushing the pistons back quite so far. If it were me, I wouldn't do what I've just done. I would put new brake pads on, and then you're in business. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope that all makes sense. Feel free to ask questions, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. One other thing you could do to fix sponginess if you're using older pads is to reattach your funnel and just squeeze your brake lever a number of times. And what that will do is it will enable more fluid to go into the reservoir here, and that will help to close the gap.